topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from experts on such topics as legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to our experts in community association law, estate planning law, tax relief, Medicare, public insurance adjusters, neuropathy treatment, business brokers, and personal injury law, along with many other topics. Now, here's your host for the last 17 years, Steve O.
In Illinois. Thanks for tuning in today. This is the Ask the Expert Show, where for the last 17 years we have brought you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, today we have got a great show for the next 50 minutes. We've got one of the top bankruptcy attorneys, and he also handles, if you've got a tax problem with the IRS, hey, why you should not handle it yourself. You're going to learn a lot today. I mean, this is like getting free advice from one of the top bankruptcy attorneys in the United States. We want to welcome our TikTok listeners and viewers. Again, we don't ask for gifts. All we say is tap the screen, give us a follow, give us a like if you'd like the show. Looks like we got a ton of likes already. Let's welcome attorney Kevin Benjamin. Good afternoon, Kevin.
Good afternoon, Steve and everybody. How you doing?
Hey, it's good to see you. How's the weather in Chicago?
About 90 to 100, and the air quality is bad. There's some Canadian fire, whatever, winds blew the fire stuff here today, so you can't breathe.
Oh, great. That's good.
This out.
Kevin, I just want to share this with you. Kevin's with us once a month. The show has become so important, we replay it several times during the month. People love your honesty, Kevin. The letters we get, they like congratulating us on finding you. You do such a good job explaining to people. And you know what? If you always tell people, it might not be what they want to hear, but it's the truth, though. And that's what people love about your show. Hey, we've got all these new listeners on TikTok. Can you tell people about your firm?
Sure. Kevin Benjamin, Benjamin Legal Services. We're based in Chicago. I have another company called Noble Tax Relief, but it's basically I would be doing the bankruptcies or the tax resolution for somebody directly. And basically, like Benjamin Legal Services does a lot of bankruptcy Chapter 7, Chapter 13, Chapter 11s, litigation, loan restructuring workouts, that kind of stuff. And we do tax resolution also with the IRS. So some of the state, like Illinois and some other states, but mostly it's IRS tax controversy resolution, resolving tax debt and getting levies off people's, accounts and liens off their properties and stuff like that.
Kevin, what's so great about your practice, whether it's you're handling a bankruptcy case or if you're handling a tax relief case, it has got to be the biggest burden on somebody, whether it's bankruptcy or if it's the IRS after them. And what you do for your clients, I think, is so amazing. One of the things I want to talk about today is we got probably 5 or 6 letters from people who signed on with some of these national companies with the big, the celebrity spokesperson, and they got ripped off. And what I want people to understand is I want them to know about your practice, just because there are those kind of companies out there, they're not going to have this kind of problem with your firm.
That's a common question. I go through that every day, just today and yesterday, talking to some clients. They talk to, I don't want to name the national companies on this, but it was one national company. Then they hire a different national company, all with the fake names. And I said, how's that working out for you? Obviously they're calling me, so they're just call centers. If you're national on the radio, or we're 1-800 and they got a little music, catchy phrase, they're just, the call center may not even be in the United States. And they're just trained to, everyone qualifies, get your credit card out, sign up, get a deposit, get monthly payments, get paid, and then nothing gets done. So think about it. You don't need a national company. You need someone who's real. So whether it's someone local, and I'm not always local for everybody, but I'm also real. My name's on the door. I'm the person you're going to talk to. I'm the one that's going to handle it. And, I'm a real person. So, yeah, these other companies, they just change the name. When they go out of business, they form a new name. They're trying to do volume, pounding the radios, TV ads with catchy phrases, call me, everyone qualifies for offer and compromise. They sell it for pennies on the dollar, all that crap. And sometimes you can, but they're just trying to get your money. They're not. You're not talking to someone like me when you call them. You're talking to not even a lawyer, not even a CPA. You're talking to a call person. Every time you call back, you may get somebody else. They have a team of lawyers and a team of CPAs. BS. They don't have anybody. They have maybe associated people. And so every time someone's working on the case, it's going to be somebody else. Maybe it's just chaos. So there's no need for that. Now, I'm not the only real person. There's a lot of real people. You know what I'm saying? So, you just get someone local or get somebody real you talk to, and at least it's someone's what they're doing.
Kevin, this seems like the biggest, it's amazing how they share the things they share with us, but we have been doing this for 17 years. But it seems like when they paid their money, and these people are reasonable people. They said, I don't expect they're going to call back the day of when I leave a message. But a lot of them would say, God, 2, 3, even a month later before they even got a phone call returned. And I could understand that.
Yeah, that's, because once you sign up with them, they're you know what I'm saying?
I know. They cashed your check.
You're on auto pay, you're on ACH coming out of your bank account so that you can't stop it. I had someone today on the phone for bankruptcy, and she hired one of those, BS debt settlement, debt consolidation companies, very similar to the tax thing and other stuff. And I told her, I'll just file the case, all the money. No, they said I can't stop it. I'm like, well, you can. Or just call the bank to stop it, or just fire them. Well, if I call them and fire them, suppose they say no. What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? You just tell them they're done. It's like you don't need their permission. You know what I'm saying? But the power of these companies to try to make it sound like, oh no, you can't do this, you can't do that. And people think, oh, well, someone said that, I can't do it. Of course you can. So it's just the power of the, people are beat up on debts, consolidation, tax stuff. So that's how con people get in there, because they tell you what you want to hear, and if you hear that, it makes you feel better, and you want to hope it's real. And
right.
These solutions, and the solutions in general can be real. You can resolve tax debt. You can get out of debt and bankruptcy if you qualify. There's all kinds of chapters of bankruptcy. There's ways to handle things. You don't need to kill yourself. There's just debt. There's ways to restructure it or pay it. And the IRS too. Sure, they'll levy and garnish because no one's talking to them, right? So they want to resolve the matter. So they want a professional. They don't want some big name, unnamed. The companies can't even resolve it. It's got to be individual. You got to be a CPA, a lawyer, or an enrolled agent, and you got to be assigned your CAF number with the IRS individually, not by a company. So it's got to be an individual on the power of attorney or the authorization to release information, depending on what you're doing. And that'll be me in my case.
Well, I always like to surprise our experts. And a couple days after your last show, Kevin's with us every month, we got a call from a lawyer in Chicago. And I don't know who's big, who's not, but I went to their website and they had 15 attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of attorneys, but that's not the point. But he called up wanting to do a show like Kevin does. We only do this with Kevin, but he said to me, he said, I was only going to listen for a few minutes. He said, I ended up listening to the entire show. And he said, I just want to tell you, the attorney you have, like I didn't know this already, the attorney you have was really good at the answers that he gave, because we're going to start your questions in the next minute or so. But he was so complimentary of you, Kevin, and usually it's not like that. Usually they are putting our expert down because they want to be on a show, but it was a big firm. It was an attorney who was listening to your show, and I thought that was the greatest compliment from a peer.
Well, it's nice to hear, and they probably know me. I mean, we've been doing this for decades, 35
I know.
years. I've been around a long time.
You have. I met you about 17 years ago when you came to Florida, and I don't even think you still remember it, but back then, 17 years ago, you were introduced as one of the finest bankruptcy attorneys. I don't know if you were doing tax relief then, but you've got such a great practice, Kevin. And I don't want to turn this into a commercial, but when you read all these letters of people who were mistreated, and spent a lot of money to find out they were going to be mistreated. I just want people to feel comfortable with your practice.
Oh yeah, that's so do I, right? And you mentioned the phone calls one time. The hardest part with the consumer stuff is the communication. So we have like secure portals. I give a lot of people my direct line, but you can't abuse it. And it doesn't mean you call my direct line that I'm going to answer the phone call that second. You know what I'm saying? So because I'm busy. Okay? You have the main number also, right? But a lot of times, like with the secure portal or texting, I allow a little bit. It's not for legal analysis. It's for a quick question or setting up a call. We can schedule phone calls, But a lot of times, when someone's calling trying to play phone tag, it just on both sides it's just chaos. And oftentimes it's just a simple question or something. And you can send me a secure message, or I can send you a secure message, attorney-client privilege, through the system. It goes to your email. And, someone could be at work. When they're done, they answer the question. If it's urgent, I'll call you. And then when we have to talk about stuff, we set up a call and block out my time and try to be organized so everyone gets attention, right? So 95 or more percent, I don't keep numbers, but the high majority of people actually like that and they follow that system. I got a few people, they think they're old school or something like that. Quite frankly, I tell them to go somewhere else. I someone today, they're not even a client yet. I did a consultation call. I talked to her 5 times today. She's even hiring me yet. I'm like, don't go somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable, I don't know you. I know you don't know me. I'm saying if you're not comfortable from our counsel call, and don't hire me. You called me. You got on my schedule. You had a free consultation.
Aren't you in court a lot? Don't you have to go to bankruptcy court a lot, Kevin?
Do I go to court a lot?
Like, don't you have to go to bankruptcy court for each case?
We had court today. We have most days we have court. A lot of the courts now are by Zoom. Sometimes they got to go in person. So it's like yesterday I had we had court hearings, same day, same court, different judges, same time. So those kind of get a little hectic, See, in the old days, if you're there in court on the bankruptcy floor, everyone knows everyone. So the other creditor attorney, they say, oh, Kevin's in the other courtroom, and vice versa. So everyone knows everything. on Zoom, it's not so easy. But ironically, today, one of the judges mentioned they called the case and they had seen the attorney on the Zoom, and then he's like, he's not there. He must be in a different courtroom, and he was. And the attorney got on later, and he put the microphone on, but he was on the other Zoom, and the judge is like, I think you're in Judge Barnes's. Can you turn that off? Different. It happens, stuff like that. But you have to go to court. Like the trials are in person, or a lot of contested matters. Some of the routine stuff they're doing by Zoom since COVID, which is one good thing that happened with that. And
right,
because it saves a lot of time. Like the court hearings today, the hearings themselves were 5 minutes. But you have like a 10 o'clock call or a 9 o'clock call, but there's like 40 cases on it. So you're waiting to be called. Like in the old days, you have to go to court. It could be travel time. You got to get in there, get strip search, go. You're waiting, then you go back to the office. You're out a couple hours for a 5 minute, for a 5 minute hearing. And now it still may be with no travel time, so maybe it's not as long. But while we're on the call, like in Chicago, it's very organized. So I can look at the list and I know the order of the cases, so I could keep monitoring it. But while I'm doing that, I could return secure messages to people, work on some files, use your time wisely. There were some other jurisdictions. I do other jurisdictions also. I was doing some in Wisconsin, some other ones in Illinois. And even though it's federal law, different procedures sometimes. So, and sometimes it's like, oh, this one's interesting. And, some are easier than others. But I was on a hearing in Wisconsin 2 weeks ago, and I just couldn't find on the court website the case order. It's got to be somewhere, and all the federal cases, the web pages are the same, but some of the information is different. So I just got to figure out on that one, because we don't know when it's being called. It's hard to, know anything. So I'm on this confirmation hearing, and I'm like, I just got to sit here because I don't know. If I go to the restroom, I'm going to miss, they call the case, I miss it. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
It worked out, but there's got to be a way to figure it out. But like in most of the jurisdictions, you see the order and you get organized. But yeah, so you're in court, but not always in person, which is easier. Now the tax resolution, sometimes you're meeting with the IRS in person, and sometimes not. So but when I meet with the IRS for somebody, I don't have the client come unless I tell them to. So I take care of it. Same in court, by the way. I had a client today, or potential client said, don't we have to go to court? I'm like, well, actually, in Chapter 7, you're never going to see, there's a judge assigned to you. You're never going to see a judge. It's not on TV where she's like, well, when they decide, there's no decision. You qualify or you don't. You follow the process or you don't. People object or you don't. And you get discharged or you don't, right? Because it's like I had a client just recently was hiding a lot of assets, lots. Okay.
Oh.
So that's not working out for him. And one of the many lawsuits against him, we had a trial last month. He didn't even show up. And actually, the court decision just came a couple hours ago. 3 counts. I won 2 of them, even without him showing up. Lost the other one. He didn't help, but that happens. But that there are people that hide things, but most people aren't. They just can't pay their bills. Credit cards, 30-40% interest. Someone's going to garnish them. They can't do it. So it's not on TV where someone's like, what happened? People call and they start yabbing about their life story, and I say, hey, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. You don't need to explain to me what happened, because it's not like on TV where you go to a meeting or trustee and they say, what's going on? What's going on? I'm filing bankruptcy. That's what's going on. I'm the attorney, qualify, ask about assets and questions and distributions or stuff like that. But no one asks, what happened.
How do you handle, Kevin, how do you handle a client like that doesn't show up?
Not well. He didn't show up to depositions twice, or 2 or 3 times. One time he called. It was 4 hours late, say he just woke up, and should he come?
Oh my gosh.
Not like everyone's waiting for you,
Yeah, right.
Motions to compel and stuff. That's actually never happened before. That's actually a first. And it may have worked out better, because if he was there, they could have called him as a witness, and who knows what he would have said, and maybe we lost. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Hey, Kevin, I want to get this on. Somebody from TikTok just wrote. He said, I live in the Chicago area. This is the second time I've listened to your show. A friend of mine in St. Louis is getting ready to file for bankruptcy, and I told him about you. Do you handle cases in other states for bankruptcy?
I do, and I have, not Missouri. So in bankruptcy, it's federal law. But state exemptions. So there's different rules, but also whether you could like I'm in Illinois has 3 jurisdictions. I'm admitted to all of them. Wisconsin has 2. I'm admitted. Indiana has 2. I'm admitted. Florida's got 3. I'm admitted. Colorado has 1. I'm admitted. Michigan has 2. I'm in one of them. But like some states, like I used to have an office in California, but California only allows you to be in the federal court if you're in the state court. Other jurisdictions, like Wisconsin, I'm in the federal courts. I actually have reciprocity with Wisconsin. I could become a member of the state bar. I just choose not to because I don't do the state work. And then if I got my state admission in there, then I got to pay my dues every year, more continuing legal education and more. And I'm just doing the federal stuff. So, and in Florida, I'm also state licensed, but all in federal. So you can do different jurisdictions if you are someone like me. A lot of people aren't in as many jurisdictions as me, but that doesn't mean I used to have a lot of different offices and people, so we were doing a lot of different states. So I got my admissions. I'm also in the appellate courts and U.S. Supreme Court. Though I've never had a case for the U.S. Supreme Court, probably never will. But I got admitted to that years ago. I'm in the trial bar, all that kind of stuff. So
yep.
I'm in the U.S. tax.
Yes or no on St. Louis?
Oh, St. Louis, Missouri? No, can't do Missouri. Sorry.
Jerry in Chicago, what can bankruptcy do for me? What doesn't bankruptcy do?
What can it do for you? Well, that's a general question. What doesn't it do? A general question. There's Chapter 7. Chapter 9 is for governments. Chapter 12 is for farmers. Chapter 15 is like cross-border stuff like that. Chapter 11 is a corporate restructuring, or an individual can do a Chapter 11, and sometimes they have to. But that's more complicated, people. Generally speaking, a person does a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. Think of a Chapter 13 as a court-ordered bill consolidation, personal restructuring of debt, the way a corporation does a Chapter 11, but it's more streamlined, cost-effective, less expensive, easier, right? Chapter 7 is like a straight bankruptcy where I'm getting out of debt. Some debts aren't dischargeable. Other are. You got to qualify for Chapter 7. There's an income level, or there's ways to get under that if you're certain deductions, or if you're a business debtor or non-consumer debtor. Then there's, depending on what your debts are, like maybe you qualify for 7, but all your debts are secured. You want to keep stuff, but you're behind on the mortgage, you're behind on the car. Well, you keep all your stuff in Chapter 13. You just make payments on the arrearage so they can't foreclose. Like Chapter 13, a lot of it's for the biggest use is probably people in foreclosure. They're in foreclosure. They're behind 10, 20, 50, 100, whatever, $1,000 in arrears. The bank says cough up, or give you 2 months to pay. No, you can pay the arrears over 60 months at no interest, and keep the house, and make the current payment, and the bank has to take it. They don't tell you that when they're foreclosing in state court. You don't have to ask permission. You just do it. As long as you can afford it and show the budget, it's done. That's what it's for. That's why the Congress encourages Chapter 13. They want people to keep their assets, keep their houses and their cars. Even if you can pay it faster than 5 years, you don't have to. It's very, very tough. So what can it do for you? It can get you out of debt, or it can keep your car, or keep your house. What can it do? I don't know what you mean by that. You know.
Okay, let me go on to the next one. Michael, how often can I file bankruptcy?
You can get a discharge in Chapter 7 every 8 years. But, you can always file Chapter 13 also. And then, you can do that more often than not. Sometimes people, they have a Chapter 13, it goes 5 years, maybe you're into it for a year or two, something happens, it gets dismissed, and you can refile the case. Also, if you did a 7, but let's say you were doing a 13, which happens now, people don't have the other debt, but maybe they got behind the car or the mortgage. Then it doesn't matter that you filed Chapter 7 a year ago; you still do a 13 because you're just catching up on the arrears. You're not discharging, people. They don't want you to run up debt, 50, 100 grand or 10, whatever it is, file bankruptcy, and then next year, do it again. At some point they got to stop it. But there's different kinds of chapters and different reasons for stuff. Also, like sometimes someone's in a chapter, they need a 7 again before the 8 years, and it's a close call. Well, you can start in Chapter 13, start making some payments, and then when the time expires, if you qualify, you can convert to Chapter 7. There's things like that.
This is Craig and Aurora. Thank you for giving us a show like this. I'm surprised there's not more out there. This show is really helping. I want to know if I'm having IRS problems, is it better to hire a CPA or a firm like yours?
It depends. Depends who it is. I mean, you have to be a CPA, enrolled agent, or attorney to represent someone for the IRS. But just because you're an attorney doesn't mean you know how to do it. And just because you're a CPA doesn't mean you know how to do it. So a lot of CPAs know how to do it. A lot of attorneys know how to do it. An enrolled agent is someone who is neither, or can be. You could be an enrolled agent also. But there's like 3 tests the government gives you. It's education. It's not easy, but you can study and pass the 3 parts. So in other words, the IRS is training you on how to do it. So then they know, maybe you're not a lawyer, you're not a CPA, but you're an enrolled agent. You know what you're doing because you passed these 3 tests. So you could, represent people. A CPA or an attorney can also be an enrolled agent if they want to take those extra courses, but most of them don't because why?
Let me go. This is Cindy in Rockford. Thank you so much for the show and your information you're giving. I understand that representing myself with tax matters, that I can make things worse. Can you expound on that?
Well, sure. You can make things worse. You don't know what you're doing. So what information are you giving the IRS? What are you saying to the IRS? You don't know what you could do, what you qualify for. You can't rely on them to tell you, though some people do. So, and also, is this like a civil matter or a criminal matter or civil matter that you want to keep it civil? You don't want to represent yourself before the IRS.
But you know what I've learned, though, from doing your show, Kevin, that, like you said, you can say the wrong thing to them. You're really not leveling the playing field by trying to do this yourself. It's so much better hiring an attorney like Kevin.
I have even clients in bankruptcy. I have someone yesterday, it's not a conspiracy on these questions for filing. It's like, my address is over here. I don't need to put that down. Yes, you do. Or how are they going to know if I have this? Because I'm going to put it down on your petition. That's why you got to disclose everything. If it's a problem, I'll tell you if it's a problem or not, and then how we've handled it. But you can't commit bankruptcy fraud by deciding what you want to disclose and not disclose, or what your cousin or someone told you didn't have to because I'm your attorney. I'm telling you have to. And people don't even get, sometimes I get people like, how'd you know about that? Because I just pulled an asset search, same as anyone else is going to do. Well, I pulled your credit report. You have a mortgage in a different state. It's not like hard these days. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not even trying to find. I'm just trying to find out. Sometimes people are being sued, they don't even know it, right? I do my due diligence. I check the public records or do some asset searches. And I might say, oh, you're being sued. Oh, Kevin, I didn't know. I said, I know you didn't know. So I checked. You weren't even served yet. So, but now I got it on the information, and now we'll stop it. I'm saying. So I'm not checking you out because I think you're lying. I'm just sometimes people just don't even know. Oftentimes, like, okay, and people are disclosing. Okay, just yesterday I filed a case, or a couple of days ago, and I'm like, people got a car on there. Okay, when I check, I'm like, are you sure that you're on the car, not your wife? It wasn't even a big asset, right? Because I don't see that it's registered in your name, and I don't see it's recorded on your name. Turns out it's not. But the person was, they were disclosing it. Hey, it's my wife's in my car. Legally it's not, but it is. So it's just a matter of like there's a creditor attached to it. If the person's not on that debt, they're not on the debt. That's all. If they're on, like, someone could be on title to a house, but not on the promissory note, but they signed the mortgage. I take care of all that. People have different kinds of interests. I've had cases where I've called a client like, oh my God, you have property. You're like, what are you talking about? And this was like a year ago. It turned out that the mother didn't want to tell her, but it's a surprise, put her on her house deed.
Oh my God.
Kevin, I didn't know. It turns out she didn't know, right? Thank God I found out, right? Now we got it worked out because I worked it out with a trustee, so it all went through, right? But I have to look at this stuff because to make sure that I'm not surprised, in a meeting of creditors or in court, or if a creditor files something. I want to be on top of my game and be able to protect my client the proper way. And oftentimes, what people think is a problem is not. They went on Google or ChatGPT, and someone told them something at a cocktail party, and everyone thinks they're smart, and they heard this or heard that. And I had someone a couple of years ago. Don't you have a gun? Yeah, I don't know. Someone told me don't. I hate when someone says that. By the way, someone told you. It's like, go ahead, that person take care of you. I'm like, it's worth $800. So what? I exempt it, and I mean,
that's funny you said that, because Kevin, so many of these letters start off, a friend of mine told me, or a family member told me, and they think that's gospel.
Well, it gets worse, because then I tell them it's wrong, and then they keep saying, well, I don't know, I'm not going to argue with you.
Right.
Your friend's an idiot. What can I tell you? You know what I'm saying? You're calling me. I'm not calling you. I do this for a living. I'm giving you my opinion. If you think your friend knows more, then go for it. But I'm not going to keep arguing, because sometimes, like, what the friend said makes them, I don't have to pay the debt or something like that. I don't have to hide.
Right.
I'm telling them you do, or you got to disclose this, and they don't want to do it. So they like the other answer, but they know I'm the attorney, right? So they're not trying to argue with me, but they keep bringing it up, and like, well, you're just arguing with me. Well, can you talk to my friend? No, I don't care what your friend thinks.
It's amazing. Here's Craig in Chicago wants to know, in Illinois, what property can I keep if I file bankruptcy?
Most people keep everything, because if you're going to lose it, you're not going to file. Great question. It's a great question, though. I had a counsel call this morning, and so we go over the equity in the house, right? And this is only on a counsel. I'm estimating, what do you think it's worth? What do you think and she had numbers on the first mortgage payoff and the second mortgage. Okay, so now we know what you owe. What do you think it's worth? She gave me numbers. She actually had a basis for it on the CMA. Okay, but there's also some, it's right around the exemption, which is, so there's also some work that needs to be done. So it's probably going to be okay. But like I told her, it's like, nothing gets filed until, we do our homework to make sure everything's taken care of, and, tighten everything up. Because going on, like, getting a general, like some broker gave her something, automatic appraisal, the average prices in her neighborhood. Okay, but that's not your house. Because her house, you have the cracked foundation in the basement and some water damage in the roof, so it's a different valuation. But on the initial counsel call, I'm just getting a, rough estimate. And by the way, clients don't always even know the numbers. So I got to check it myself. It could be way off, So it's state law, but federal exemption. So you're allowed a certain amount of equity in your house, certain amount of equity in your car, which most cars don't even have equity. personal items and stuff like that. And in Illinois, finally, like in January, after decades, got better exemptions now. So basically, you keep everything. I mean, if you have too much equity not exempt, I'll tell you. And then you could also do a Chapter 13 at less than 100%. Or sometimes I do a Chapter 7, and we say, hey, your car is maybe $10,000 over. Do you want to do a 7? Maybe, because until I file the case, I don't know who the Chapter 7 trustee is going to be. And until I know that, I don't know if they're going to try to shake you down, so to speak, when maybe they should be, right? But then again, it's like, are we risking $10,000 to get out of $150,000? Because even if it's a little exemption, you could settle that with a trustee. So maybe you're paying $3,000-$4,000, and so you still want to do it. But I help you make an informed decision. What are your options, the pros and cons of each, and make an informed decision? If you want to proceed on a Chapter 7, I'll tell you what I think the risk is on that. But generally speaking, it's not like on TV where people are bankrupt and people just can't. They can pay their bills. They have a job. They can pay their mortgage or their rent and their food and their insurance. You can pay your current bills, but you can't pay all your debt. Debt payments. I mean, someone today had $3,000 something a month on their monthly credit card debts and loans. Wow. Couldn't afford that, but obviously she can afford to eat. As a matter of fact, there's an income problem possibly on that one. But it's also a business debtor. So you get her on the means test. So she can still file. So anyway, the answer to the question is you're pretty much keeping everything. I'll tell you it was the problem because it's designed to keep stuff. It's not designed to, like people tell you.
This is from Sid in Peoria. He said, I really enjoy your show. I just turned a friend who's considering bankruptcy onto your show. His is business bankruptcy, and he's worried that the IRS can come out to his place of business to question him. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. Randy in Chicago, I was told I owe the IRS $2,500. Is it cheaper just to go and pay that or to hire your firm and try to get that wiped out?
It's cheaper to pay it.
Okay. Hey, listen, I told you guys, Kevin's very honest. You might not like the answers, but he's honest with you. And I got to tell you, I think that's so much more important. Kevin, people love the examples you give. You always give examples of a client. We never mention their name at all, but people love the examples you give.
Well, I try to. I mean, it's a habit, but also it makes people understand. It's also it makes it easier for me to explain by giving an example if I have one. And like the ones today happen to be from the last couple of days. One of them, I had 4 or 5 consults today and court before this. That's why I was almost late for this.
Trey in Peoria, he wants to know. He said, I appreciate your show. You have the best and most informative show regarding the IRS. And sometimes we break up the first half of the show, bankrupt, second half, but we had so many questions from both IRS and bankruptcy. We just kind of combined everything today. During the course of an audit or investigation, you said the IRS can come out and interview you. Can they talk to your clients?
No. If I represent you, it's a different story.
Right. They have to go through you.
You want representation. If you don't have representation and you're ignoring the IRS, they can have a revenue agent come. That's what they do. They go to your place of business. They come find you. Just like in bankruptcy, I've had some clients. I've had the U.S. Marshals calling me saying they're looking for my client. So they're going to find them. So
right. A lot of people ask Kevin that are who owe the IRS if bankruptcy can wipe that out.
Sometimes. So generally speaking, no, but there's exceptions to it. So oftentimes you can. So what I do, that's how I kind of got into this. It's like bankruptcy and tax, the way you analyze someone's stuff, it's very similar with the bankruptcy or tax resolution. So one of the things I do, whether it's a bankruptcy or a tax resolution, is we analyze all the tax debt. What is the collection statute expiration date, assessment statute expiration dates, bankruptcy dischargeability dates. See, someone says, I owe $40,000 to the IRS, and they might. Maybe it's 1 year. But oftentimes it could be 2, 3, or 4 years or more that's combined. To them, it's 40 grand. But to me, it's like, okay, how much for this 1 year? How much? Because I got to analyze each year, because sometimes you could discharge some debt of the IRS at a certain time and not the other. So that's part of the tax strategy, and also the bankruptcy strategy of when are we going to file? If we file now, am I getting rid of, I can get rid of 24,000, just making numbers up, right? But if I file in a month, I can get rid of another 5,000. If I wait 7 months, I can get rid of the whole thing, because each tax year has their own date. And generally speaking, it's 10 years to collect and stuff, but there's always exceptions, because there's a lot of tolling events. Sometimes maybe they filed a bankruptcy before, or they had a offer and compromise or an appeal, and there's tolling events that toll the time period. So I go through all that and figure out the proper numbers, tolling periods. So we have all the facts. I'm an attorney, I deal in facts, right? So, and each year we know what's going on, so I can help a client make an informed decision. So yes, sometimes it can be discharged.
Right. Kathy in Chicago wants to know, after I file for bankruptcy, how long does it take where I can start applying for credit cards again? Isn't that what got him in trouble?
You probably get offers in the mail before you discharge.
Oh, you're kidding.
You can apply right away. I mean, you can apply, sure. And a lot of companies, are designed for help post bankruptcy, helping you credit or either secured or not secured cards or stuff like that, because you can't file again for 8 years, so they want you, because now you're post filing, post petition, right, post discharge. If you take out a loan with them or credit card, you can't file for another 8 years. So plus you have no other debt, so you're probably going to pay it, and because you have no other debt, you probably can't afford to pay it. So you're actually, and then they screw you on some interest because you just filed. So you're actually a good person for that. You're not penalized. There's no 10-year rule. That 10-year BS is like, how long could something stay in your credit report? Just because it's on your credit report doesn't mean you can't get credit. I have people thinking all the time, I'm not allowed to get credit for 10 years. You file back. What are you crazy? You're not allowed? Of course you're allowed to if a creditor wants to give it to you, And who would give it to me? A lot of people. You want to get a car, you file bankruptcy? Done. Easy. Not a problem at all. Want to get a mortgage? Sure. The next day, maybe not. You got to reestablish your credit a little bit, start showing something, right? But also your debt to income ratio, which is part of your credit score, maybe goes to 0. A lot of times people's credit score goes up the moment I file bankruptcy, because you'll not always, but because you'll eliminate that stuff. But even in any event, you're putting it behind you. So now you file today, tomorrow's post-filing. So now you're establishing new credit again. So 6 months later it looks good, but a year later looks better. Year and a half is even better. You got to start showing some payments. You actually want to get a credit card afterwards. You want to get a loan. Put some money in the bank. Buy a CD. Then take out a bank loan. Use your CD for credit. Take out a 6-month loan and pay it back and forth and do it again. It'll report to the credit bureau, right? So, and you want different kinds of credit on your credit report: revolving credit, installment credit, mortgage, car, stuff like that. So there's all kinds of points for you. So yeah, you can get it. And there's also loans. A lot of companies even have cards that are designed for somebody who filed bankruptcy, so you can start establishing credit. Maybe a small limit at first. Some of them give you, but it builds up.
Craig in Chicago wants to know, can I write off in bankruptcy student loans?
So that's a question, because that's a area of law that's the last couple of years especially has been changing a lot. Sometimes you got to have what's called a hardship. And there used to be this thing called this Brunner test that was just ridiculous. It made it impossible for the jurisdictions that followed that, which Illinois was one of them. The last few years, though, like started under Biden, where the Department of Justice guidelines were such that they weren't objecting to certain things. So sometimes you could. And Trump came in there, made it a little harder, but they keep changing, trying to figure out the last couple of years on how they're doing it. But oftentimes you can. But it's not automatic, okay? But that other test on the hardship, which no one would ever qualify for, that's different now. So yeah, sometimes you can. And there's a student loan federal or private. And by the way, if it's federal, sometimes you don't even have to. Federal loans, you may get a income-based repayment plan at zero. It's a lot easier to work out with the federal government, the student loans situation, without having to file.
I'm going to get this last question in. This gentleman wants to know, he said, I heard there's some type of tax, IRS tax that they do now if your ex-wife caused your problems.
A tax, or you're talking about getting out of it like an innocent spouse?
At the IRS.
There's an innocent spouse thing.
Yes.
Sometimes, so
I think
sometimes you file a return sometimes, and maybe one person's making the money and doing the bad stuff, and other one's maybe not even working, but they just sign the joint return. So when you sign the joint return, you're both liable, right? So then when that happens, and then maybe the other spouse was doing something they should be doing, and you didn't really know about it, you're just signing the return. There's an innocent spouse category that you apply for relief under innocent spouse, and you got to show some things and stuff like that, and I can help you with that as well. So it's not automatic, but yeah, it's called innocent spouse.
I want to let people know Kevin does business bankruptcy. And if you've got IRS problems with your business, he handles all that. It's not just individual. Kevin, tell people how they can reach you. BenjaminLaw.com
or 312-853-3100. That's 312-853-3100. Or the webpage is BenjaminLaw.com, and all the information's on there.
We're going to be replaying this show next Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Kevin, thank you so much. Kevin's with us every month. We'll see you next month, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Kevin Benjamin, attorney Kevin Benjamin. Hey, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern time doing our public insurance adjuster show. Thanks so much, Juan. You're the best. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.